Hey folks, this is Rob from LearnByTheDrop.com. Learn by the Drop is a place to learn Drupal. And this is lesson 11 of my special Getting Started with Drupal series. And in this lesson, we're going to focus on comments and feedback on your site. So we're going to get you set up with comments and a contact form on your site. We'll get that contact form set up. We'll get you a menu item so you can link to the contact form. We'll also help you get set up with some spam prevention features, and towards the end of the lesson we're going to add a little bit extra in that we'll show you how to set up a comment subscribe plugin, or basically an automated comment reply plugin, and also user images, even for people who are not necessarily members or authors on your site, but going to show you how to get set up with user images from the Gravatar module, which uses the Gravatar service. So if you stick around for that, you'll be able to see how that can help spice up comments on your site. Let's get started by going to our test site at gettingstarted.awakenvoice.com. And we're going to get logged in just by going to /user. And anytime you go to /user on a Drupal site, that'll take you to the login form, unless you've otherwise redirected that page. Okay, so now that we're logged in, now at the top you'll see, if you've followed along in previous episodes, we added this admin bar up at the top, which kind of makes things a little bit easier. Now, first thing that we want to do when we get started with comments is we want to make sure that we're properly protected. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm actually going to help us get set up with the Malum module for Drupal, and let's go over to Site Building Modules list, and if we scroll down to see, we can see that we already have Malum installed. If you don't have Malum installed, then you should go over to drupal.org/project/Malum and get that installed to continue this process. And we installed this in an earlier episode of the Getting Started with Drupal series. Let's go to Administration by Module page, and we can check the settings for Malum. Now, again, Malum is very, very important, or a module like Malum would be very important to you. Let's go click on Malum here to see the settings. It's very important because as soon as you open your site up for comments and contact forms, spammers can come in and send you all kinds of nasty messages and generally mess things up. One of the other options is to just moderate all of your comments, but I think it's pretty frustrating for users if they come to a site and they put in a legitimate comment and it doesn't get seen right away. And so what Malum does is it checks the comments against the central server, and will also provide CAPTCHA and other types of security measures to cut down on the amount of spam that you might see on your site. Now, one important thing to know about Malum is that you need to have an access key, actually two keys, a public key and a private key. Now, those keys are available for free from malum.com. And we're going to go over to malum.com right now and show you how to get that set up. And they're available for free at malum.com. If your site does get a lot of traffic, there are actually some thresholds where you might have to pay some amount of money. But if you're just getting started with your Drupal site, you shouldn't have nearly the amount of traffic that would hit a threshold where you'd be required to pay some money for this service. So I'm going to go to user login, and I already have an account. If you don't have an account, get one set up. And then come back to this step. Okay, so when I come into my account, I'm going to see it. Basically my account screen. I'm going to select Manage Sites. Okay, so here in the account view, I can see the sites that are already being protected by Malam. If I want, I can actually view the statistics of the comments and the spam that Malam has blocked. And you can see that it gives you this nice visual representation of spam attempts on the site which have been blocked by Malam. Now, if I want to add a new site, which is what we want to do right now, I'm going to actually go over to, I think, pricing here. And I'm going to come down and select Malam Free, and you can see here what the features of Malam Free are and what some of the limits are. 100 posts per day, 100 correct captchas per day. And I'm going to click Get Malam Free. And then we're going to give it a URL, which in this case is going to be getting started.awakenedvoice.com. And we'll just say it's a personal site. Select the site language, which is off the screen, but that's English. Site software is Drupal. Of course, we'll accept the terms of service, and then we'll click Next. Now we're going to click Complete Subscription. And now we can see that we have gettingstarted.awakenedvoice.com in our list. And next thing we want to do is we want to select View Keys. So now we've got our public key and our private key, and what we want to do is we want to copy these in our public key, and we want to bring that over to our Malam settings. And we want to copy our private key. And then we want to save that configuration. Okay, so now you've been told that the configuration options have been saved. We've contacted the Malam servers to verify. We are now blocking spam, so I'm going to close that other tab. And so now we're started. We've got some spam protection on the site. Next thing we want to do is we want to adjust some of the settings. And let's go down to our options. Now, what you can opt to have here is text analysis and a CAPTCHA backup. So basically what that means is that if someone submits something, that the Malam servers will analyze the text and will present a CAPTCHA, which is the challenge image that users might need to enter the value of. Or instead of having the CAPTCHA as a backup, you can have CAPTCHA only, and then you can have no protection at all. And we can store these settings based on each individual item of content that can be submitted by the site. In this case, we're only interested in the comment form. So let's say for the comment form, we're just going to stick with text analysis and CAPTCHA backup. Some of these other forms right now, user registration, aren't open. We aren't open to registrations, but if we were, we'd want to consider this and some of these other forms here, since we have a limited amount of people publishing on our site right now, are really not an issue. Now, if you do have a site where any of these particular fields, whether it's blog entry, page form, story form, are open, then you'd want to have them protected. So I'm just going to switch blog entry, protect page, protect story, to no protection. We have some server settings here. If there's a fallback strategy, if Malam is not working properly, in this case the default is that it will block all submissions until the server problems are solved. And I think that's recommended because you just don't want all these submissions getting through while Malam is down. And then also you have your public and private keys right here. So we made a change, so we're going to click Save Configuration. Now, the one other thing that you want to check with this is the overall Malam permissions. So we're going to go to Site Configuration here, or excuse me, User Management Permissions. And for Malam, we're going to say, can anonymous users post with no checking? No, but authenticated users can post with no checking, and that would be anybody who you've given login access. Now, if you're running a community site where people are signing up and you have different roles, it might be a little bit different. This particular setup works for a situation where you have a limited number of publishers on the site. So it might be a little bit different if you have more user roles than just anonymous and authenticated. And remember, as the administrator, if you're the administrator of the site, you can do all this stuff anyway. You don't even have to actually change any permissions. Mostly permissions are for the benefit of users that come after the administrative user. Okay, so we've got Malam set up for comments. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to set up the comments for our blog posts. So right now we're only going to have comments set up on our blog post. So let's go over to, let's see, content management, content types, and then we're going to say edit blog entry. And what we're going to do is we're just going to check our global comment settings on blog entry. So here we are on blog entry. Let's go down to comment settings. So the default comment setting is read write, which is good. That means that people who come to the site should be able to publish comments on each of the blog posts. The display will be an expanded threaded list, and I like threaded lists because it allows people. Threaded lists allow people to reply to specific comments. The default display order is going to be the oldest comment first. Again, I like people to be able to come to a site and scroll down and see, starting from the oldest comment, see the whole conversation. The default comments per page, in this case, we'll leave it 50. And comment controls, we're just going to leave it really simple and not have any comment controls. And then comment subject field is enabled, and you can disable that as well, but I like to leave that enabled. We're going to make preview comment required, and I think that's pretty important because it allows people to get a chance to check their comment if they've made any spelling errors. That they'll be able to check that first, and for the most part, on people who are anonymous, they're not going to get a chance to edit their comments after they're submitted. And then the location of the submission form will be below the posts or comments. I always find it annoying when it's on a separate page. So we're good there. We're going to save that. Okay, so now we're pretty much set up. We should be able to have comments on our blog posts, and it should be pretty safe. One thing that you want to know is if you want to really get a global view of all the comments on your site, you can go to Content Management and then select Comments, and it will give you a list of comments. Now, one thing we want to do real quickly is just check our user permissions one more time. Make sure that we've got it set up so that users can submit comments. So right now we have it set up that anonymous users can access comments, but we don't have it that they can post comments. So we want to make sure that anonymous users can post comments. Post comments without approval would mean that there wouldn't be any that it would be allowed to be submitted without moderation. And so because we have the Malam module checking, we also want to set that as well. So we want to have post comments and post comments without approval. And again, it's up to you. If you really want to check every individual comment, you can do that if you like. And again, to do that, you'd go to Content Management Comments, and it would, basically show you the list of approved and unapproved comments. Now that we've got that set up, what we want to do is maybe log out and, go and submit a couple of comments just to make sure that works. Let's go over to Blog. Now you notice that you'll see that on some of our posts, we're going to have, the Add New Comment link here, and we don't have it on this post, and it may be because for whatever reason in the settings of this post we didn't allow it. But let's come over to Embed First Photo. We'll click Add New Comment. There's the subject line that we that we indicated in the settings. We don't have to put anything there, and here's the comment field, and we'll just say this is a great comment, thanks. You put in there whatever you want. click preview, which we have to do, and then we could save that. And then we can see that the comment is there. Now, one of the things to notice is that we have this input format selection here, and this basically, gives users the opportunity to put full HTML or filtered HTML if they want into the text box. Now, if we want to hide this, what we actually need to do is reset the default format so that they're not able to put in full HTML. Now, one of the reasons full HTML might be a risk is, of course, people with full HTML can put all sorts of nasty things like embed things into comments, and you may not necessarily want that. So let's go over to our admin section and take a look at how we can deal with that. Okay, so I switched back to the admin section. If we want to limit, right now, currently with our current setup, the input formats for the anonymous users, what we would do is we go down to input formats. Right now, we've got our default input formats set at full HTML, and one of the frustrations of Drupal is that all users can use the default format. It makes it a little bit more difficult for us publishing, but it's also a little bit more safer if we set the default format to filtered HTML, which I'm going to do right now. And then for full HTML, if we want, we could say that, well, authenticated users can use full HTML because, we trust them more. And again, this is just allowing how much, what types of things you can put into different fields. Filtered HTML is definitely safer. Now, what I recommend is, if you're interested in getting more control over the input formats, which a lot of people are, that you check out the Better Formats module, which you can find on Drupal.org, which is an input format management module. Okay, so now that we've changed that and we log out again, and we go back to our blog. Okay, so if we come to one of our other posts, and we can add a comment, and now we'll see that we no longer have that choice down there, but you do get this guidance here. And there's a number of ways if you want to clean this up and remove these links and guidance, but one of the ways to do that is the Better Formats plugin or Better Formats module. So here we could just say, second comment. And I really liked the video. Well, let's just call this liked it. And then preview that. And save. So, again, to remind you, now one of the things that's happening is that Malum is working in the background, or at least it should be working in the background. So if somebody, tries to come in and enter a malicious comment, that they would be challenged by the Malum CAPTCHA. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a few different comments to the site, and then I'm going to show how you can add a recent comments block over to your sidebar, and then once we've done that, I'm going to show you how to get set up with that contact form. Okay, so I've taken some time and added a few comments to the site. In fact, if we go to Content Management, Comments, we could see the list of different comments here, who the author was, what post it was made on, and you can see that also I added the author here of Getting Started. I added a particular response to a comment here. Let's go to this particular post, and you can see that I use the threaded feature where basically you have these options here now as the admin also. You can reply to a comment, and this is the threaded feature where it indents it. And then as the admin, you also have the ability to delete a comment, you can edit it, and you could also mark it as abuse, which would unpublish it and send notice to Malum that you thought that this was an abusive comment. Now, there was one more thing that I wanted to set up that I wanted to show you. If you go to Content Management, Content Types, Edit Blog Entry, One thing that I like to set up on comments that I didn't set up the first time around is to require anonymous posters to leave their contact information. So we're going to check that and save that. And just real quick, I'm going to show you what the difference is between what they saw before and what an anonymous poster would see now. If we log out. So now that we have it set, anonymous posters must leave their contact information. When somebody selects add new comment, they now need to leave a name, and they could leave an email address, or they have to leave an email address, and they can also put in a home page and a subject when they submit their comment. Okay, and you can see that comment there. And you also get the benefit of if someone putting their name in as well. Okay, so now that we've got, let's go back and get logged in again. Now that we've got our comments flowing on the site, one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to create a block or place a block in the sidebar so that other users that come to the site can review and see what people have commented on. And luckily for you, there is a standard block that you can add to your sidebar. So what we're going to do is go to Site Building, Blocks. We are going to list the blocks. And if we go down into our disabled blocks, we're going to see recent comments. Let's click Configure on that. And we can give it a block title. If we don't give it a block title, it'll just have a title of recent comments. And we have some visibility settings. Usually I set things to users cannot control whether or not they see this block. You can indicate what user role will see the block. In this case, we're just going to leave it as default. And on this case, we're going to show. Now, the one thing that you probably want to change is where this block will show up. And let's just say show only on the listed pages. And we're going to want this to show up on every page that on the blog page and every page below the blog. So we'll put in blog and then blog/star and say show on only the listed pages, and that will ensure that this block only shows up on those particular pages on those paths. So we've saved that. We still need to add that to a section. In this case, I want to put it on the left here. So we've got this sidebar first section, and we're going to add our recent comments to sidebar first. Scroll up, and then let's just say we are going to drag that below recent blog posts. And let's save that. So our list of recent comments should show up below our recent blog posts when we go to the blog. Yes, and I guess we don't have our recent blog posts showing up on the blog page, but now we can see that we have our recent comments block here. Now, if you want to, if you want to set up more, some more details or a special custom block, and that would be getting into using the CCK, or actually, the views module, which would allow us to set up a custom recent comments block. But for now, I think that this, this particular comments block should do us just fine. So we now have protection for our comments. We have the ability for anonymous users to add comments, and we can even display some recent comments on the sidebar. And if we wanted to, we could go back and we could set that block to show up on the home page if we wanted to. And let's go do that. And we go to configure recent comments. And then we could say, well, let's just show this on the front page as well. Put in our symbol or our code for front page and save that, and we should see the block for recent comments in the same position on the front page under recent blog posts, and then we have online users. Excuse me. So now, we've pretty much got the basics of comments set up. The next thing we want to do is we want to get a contact form set up because, people may not want to comment on a specific post, but what they may want to do is just send us, some general information or ask us a question. So why don't we do that by going over to, first of all, let's go over to our modules and make sure that our contact form module is set up. Site configuration. And it doesn't look like we have our contact form set up. So let's go to actually administer modules. And then under our core modules, we're going to see contact, which enables the use of both personal and site-wide contact forms. Let's select that. And we're going to save that configuration. Okay, so let's go over to site building. And now we should have a link for contact form, and let's list our contact forms. Now the first thing that you need to do in order to have a contact form is we need to add a category. So we're going to collect add category, and we're just going to call this site contact form. Who are the recipients? Well, you could be the recipient of your form, and you can just put in the email addresses here. If you want, you can enter an auto reply value, which will basically send the user who submitted an auto reply message. And let's say we want this category to be selected by default. Because in this case, this is going to be our only contact form, but you could set up multiple contact forms. So now we can see that we have this site-wide contact form here. If we want, we can edit it. We're just going to go back. We're going to click Settings. Now, on the settings for the particular form, we can change some of the things like, what does it say there? What does it say when people go to the page? So in this case, you can leave a message using the contact form below. And we could say, please do. We're glad to hear from you. And then we can also set up a threshold here, which is a little bit of a protection measure, and basically says the maximum number of contact form submissions a user can perform an hour. And this is, this is a spam protection measure to prevent someone from repeatedly submitting useless contact forms. Enable personal contact form is something that, if you have multiple users of the site and their profiles are accessible, a personal contact form would allow a user that's coming to the site to contact that individual directly. We're just going to leave that as is. Okay. So let's go back to our contact form, and it will tell you that this contact form also adds a menu item disabled by default to the navigation block. Now we'll take care of that in a second. A couple of things that we need to do. First thing that we need to do is go to our permissions and indicate who has access to the contact module. And so for the anonymous user, we want to say access site-wide contact form. So that will allow somebody just showing up at the site to access the contact form. And the other thing that we want to do is we want to update our Malum module, because we can have Malum protect the contact form as well. And now you can see that Malum has protect site-wide contact form here. And let's just say we want to have a CAPTCHA only on the site-wide contact form. So that's very important, because we don't want to leave this site-wide contact form open for the world to get at. Okay, now that we've created that, we should be able to go over to our menu. and see our menu items. So let's actually go to navigation, which is where it might have added this contact form. And now you can see that this contact link is here, and that's by default in the navigation menu. And what we want to do is we want to add a menu item up here. And if you remember how we set those up earlier, we did that in primary links. So we're going to say add item. The path is going to be contact. The link title could be contact us. And then we give it a description. The menu item is going to be enabled. It's going to be in primary links. Let's save that. And now you can see down at the end here, we have contact us. If you wanted to, you could take this and you could drag it and you could move it. Or if you say, well, contact is too long, let's edit that. Or excuse me, contact us is too long, and just change it to contact. And this is the text that we put in here. Now, what we want to do is, let's go to log out and see what it looks like to an anonymous user. So as an anonymous user, I come here and I can leave my name. Say hello. Submit. Oh, but wait a minute. Our subject field wasn't entered. And then also our CAPTCHA. And now it'll tell you your message isn't sent. So we've got that. So by default we've got that. We've got that protection on the contact form. These fields need to be pulled out. So this is just really basic, but this will get you set up with someone being able to contact you directly from your website. Okay, now there's just a couple of other things that I wanted to point out, just to be able to take this contact form to the next level. And what those two things are being able to add user pictures with Gravatar, and this is user pictures without users having to have an account, and also being able to get automatic notifications for even people who come to your site and submit comments. They can get notifications of replies, which might help with having people come back to your site even after they've left, which a lot of people who are building websites think is a good thing. So there's two modules that I'm going to point you to. One of them is going to be the Gravatar module, and the other one is going to be the comment subscribe module. And we're going to need to go over to Drupal.org and pick those up. Thanks for watching the free preview of this drop. Head over to learnbythedrop.com to download a copy of this preview or purchase a high-resolution copy that includes additional instructional content.